So I've just wrapped up another mastermind, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of break down like what I see as the most common questions, limiting beliefs, and everything when it comes to entrepreneurs and what they struggle with. Is you can break everything down into states, stories, beliefs. Those are like the main three, and an identity. And I'm gonna briefly explain each one. So first one is the state. Thing to understand is your state basically is just how you carry yourself. So you can have like a high state and then you can have a low state. And your state is the biggest determinant of the success, happiness, fulfillment, purpose, meaning anything you experience in your life. Because your state is what you have and who you are on a daily basis. Best way to think about state is like today, right? You've woken up or you are currently watching this video at the end of your day and you are thinking to yourself like, I don't feel good, I'm low energy, I'm stressed, I'm tired, and all these things are part of your state, but actual state change can be shifted in minutes, even seconds, and it's the highest leverage place to start as an entrepreneur. Now, you don't want to have a long morning routine. Everybody has different morning routines. You meet the entrepreneurs where they just have like a 3-hour morning routine. And then by having a 3-hour morning routine, they basically spend 3 hours not working. They're not creating any output. There's no outcomes in their business. But what I've found is that even though you may not want a long morning routine, you're going to want to have part of your routine that's something that gets you into state. And it can be super simple. So you wake up tired, you're dehydrated, maybe your mind is not clear, and you want to get into state instantly. I would have a minimum 2-minute, but ideally 10-minute practice, and this is what primes you physiologically. It is gonna clear your mind, it is gonna center you for focus, and then it is going to get rid of all the things which is holding you back from starting work. So the simplest way to do this is to have some form of breath work, is to have some form of visualization, which is focus on the future, and then to get your whole body involved, so not just breath, but your whole body. And I like to have something written down. The reason I like to have something written down is because then it is something which you can return to, and if you daily write it down over time, then you can track and you can optimize towards that state. If you look at any high performer, they don't have the luxury of low performance. So if you're a professional tennis athlete and you're at Wimbledon and you are playing Nadal, Djokovic, you need to be performing and in state for that competition, that point, that game, that match, that set. And that is done through a routine and habits, and it starts with a state. So first things first is the state change. And with your state change, it has to be simple, low cognitive load, small amount of time, something which you own, so it's not something where you need to rely on a coach or you need to rely on a load of technology and systems and skills, and it has to be yours. Before we even get into the mind and we get into I have this limiting belief, I have this story, or I'm held back here, or I want to change my identity. The breath work is key, because the fastest way to change is to change your breath, because your breath is always there, it's always with you. Look at Tony fucking Robbins, right? One of the most successful, actualized men on this planet, in all capacities. He still does a daily 10-minute practice. That practice is something he does daily, and he doesn't waver from it. And most men that are driven and successful get to a point where their ego is so developed that they think they don't need it, or they think they're above it, and they start to then obviously get away from that. And my clients, I always say to them, if you work it, it works. The next part that I see is the beliefs. And what I want you to do is write down your beliefs about your business, about your relationships, about your health, about any area of life. Now, I want you to pick and write down the beliefs which are based on the results you currently have in your life. You'll notice as you write down these beliefs that some are disempowering and some are empowering. And most of the beliefs that you currently hold are directly creating the results in your life. So some people at the mastermind, for example, and I'll use myself because there's many beliefs I have that hold me back too, but one of the beliefs they have is that they can't scale past a certain number. And you may say, well, no, of course they don't believe that. Like, they're in a room, they paid all this money, they flew out to Bali. Like, why would you have that belief? Most of your beliefs want to keep you safe and protect you at a current identity. All we need to do is change the belief. And to keep it super simple is you have a belief, we then rewrite the belief. And that's why I said the written is so powerful, because if you write down a new belief and then you look at it daily, then that is what you're going to choose to believe. And then over time, your beliefs create your results. The way that I like to break it down, super simple, is that you have kind of like a 5 causal chain. Identity, beliefs, levels of energy, which are emotions, then we have your actions, and we have your results. The highest leverage is identity. You change that, and then everything else below it changes. Next is your beliefs. Then it is your levels of energy, which are your emotions. Then we have your actions, and then we have your results. So in terms of changing your beliefs, keep it super simple for now. I want this to be high level. I want you just to write down one belief for health, one for love, relationships, and then one for wealth. And then I want you to look at that belief and then change it to be more empowering and more positive based on the results you want in your life. Next, we have your stories. So you may have a story that the reason you can't grow your business is because you don't want to hire people because you don't trust people. That is a story, there's a belief in it, but it's self-reinforcing. The more you keep repeating a story, the more you are going to reinforce that as being true in your life. They're just stories. So you're going to have stories in your past, stories in your present, and then stories in your future. So you've got 3 parts. We want to rewrite the past in the most positive light, the most empowering, most growth-based. Then we want to focus on the story of the present. And then we also want to create the story of the future, which is a compelling future. Finally, we get to identity, which, as I said, is the highest point of leverage. You have an identity right now, which you are consciously have chosen, which is your current identity, and then you have a future identity. And to get to your future identity, from your current identity, we just need to compress them and flip it, and then we're gonna think, feel, and act from your current identity. When you think, feel, and act from your current identity, you are then gonna take massive action and create the results, and then we're just compressing time. So if that is the 4-part framework to change, then that is your highest leverage. Just a quick thing to recognize is that when you have a daily practice, it's consistent, and then you can compound. So 4 steps, 1 daily practice. If you want the belief exercise below, if you want the state exercise below, I'll reach out to you and then I'll give it to you for free. Drop me a message below and then I will send you everything. Take care and I'll speak to you soon.